Hi, I'm Alex. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. If not, welcome back. I usually start these videos by saying I'm a 24-year-old data analyst in the greater New York City area, which is true, but I have a couple of qualifications that make me slightly more qualified to be making this that I don't normally talk about. So first, I do have a degree in financial management, so keep that in mind. Second, I studied abroad when I was 19 and went to 17 countries for under $5,000 in the course of 5 months. So I would say I'm pretty good at the travel thing. And third, I used to work at Disney World. I'm a former cast member. I did the Disney College program in 2019 and absolutely loved it. I am an annual pass holder now and we go down all the time. So obviously affordable trips is something that we look for a lot. So today I'm going to be talking about how you can realistically book a trip to Disney for under $1,000 in 2022, which sounds actually impossible, but I promise you can do it. Stay tuned to find out how. First, starting with flights, there are a few resources you can use if you want a less expensive flight. The first of those is Hopper. So Hopper is an app that you can download on your phone and set notifications for when flights are at a certain price, so you can hop on the cheap flights right away. So Hopper is a great tool for that. A lot of the time they are finding you like the Spirit and Frontier type flights. If that's not something you're interested in, another tool you can use is Student Universe. So if you have an old college email that you still have access to, or a friend with one, Student Universe is a flight reservation system for students, as it sounds, and you can get discounted flights just for like being a student. So anytime I've booked Student Universe, that's when I end up on like the Delta flights. I never book that myself unless I can get a really good deal from Student Universe. The next way to get cheap flights, and something that we've been doing a lot more recently, is by signing up for something like Frontier's Discount Den. So it costs you $59 for the year, and then you get discounted on all of your flights, and then discounts on like luggage and stuff too. So I've taken a couple of flights that way, that the flight was discounted between 25 and 40% depending on the flight, and it's a great option. And then the last option that's really good is to use flight points, which this is more of an obvious one. I think a lot of people do this, but we always like compete for the free flight points on our flights, and when we do that, that's another trip to Orlando for us. So yeah, just take advantage of all of those things in terms of booking flights, and that makes it usually so you can fly down for under $100. So the next thing we need to talk about is hotels. So going back, I'm going to combine hotels with flights for 1 second, because in the past I've actually booked my flights through Priceline, and when you do that you can book a package rate with a hotel, and I ended up getting my hotel room for free. So definitely check to see if you can do that, because I know that Priceline has a lot of deals like that. I've had that for a couple of different things, a couple of different places. And then you can usually throw your rental car in for pretty cheap and any of those extra things that you might need. The next way that you can get like discounted hotels is through Hotwire. So if you've never heard of like the hot rate hack, when you go on Hotwire, they have what's known as a hot rate, and this is a discounted hotel room of up to 50% off, but it's brand names that don't want you to know that they're discounting their hotels. So when you look at Hotwire, if you go through and look at the standard rates, find the rate that is around the same amount, and then look at the reviews, you can always pick out which one is the hot rate. I have done this, it's foolproof so many times, probably like 25 times, and I always end up getting the hotel that I wanted for a fraction of the price. The next way you can get cheaper hotels is by getting a hotel credit card, and that sounds pretty obvious, but what I didn't realize is hotel credit cards are the kind that you can use anywhere. So if you get the Hilton preferred card or whatever it is, you can use it wherever the heck you want, right? Like get your gas, get your groceries, go buy yourself something nice, have a treat yourself day, and then by the end you have a free hotel room. Like, that's pretty cool. So take advantage of things like that when you see them. A lot of hotels or a lot of credit cards do free hotel stays if you have enough points. Just look at what your credit card points offer you. Also, this is going to sound like a cardinal sin, and I already know that, it hasn't even come out of my mouth yet. Stay at Universal. Controversial opinion, I know, but Universal's hotels are honestly better. Don't tell Disney, sorry. They're really cool. They're super inexpensive. You can stay in their value tier resorts for $89 a night. At Disney, the cheapest you can get is like $175 a night for All-Star, which is nuts. So look at Universal first. Even if that means that you have to drive to Disney, it's a 20-minute drive and you're going to be saving so much money. Okay, so now you have your flights, you have your hotels. The next thing you need is park tickets. So I would say this is the one category where I would splurge, because while there are those discounted park ticket places in Orlando that say they sell $59 tickets to the Magic Kingdom, that's not necessarily true. And some, if not most, of them are just scams. So maybe don't go get your tickets at one of those. I wouldn't suggest that. But there are still ways to get discounted park tickets. So the number one way, if you're at Disney, is just to get the like 4 or 5 day package. Obviously the price per day goes down as you get more days. So if you are going to the park more frequently, then you're going to get cheaper tickets. Also, maybe be willing to just pick one park hop day if you want to park hop, but if not, stick to one park a day. You don't really need the park hopper, and you can certainly like fill your time doing one park a day. Now, in terms of Universal, I would say that if you're gonna get a 2-day 2-park ticket to Universal, you might as well just buy their annual pass. You can put like $150 or $180 down and pay $21 a month for the next year. If that's something that is easier for you. I know that's what I did with my Universal pass, but also it's like $350 to be able to go unlimitedly, and then that gives you 25% off hotels, discounts on food and merchandise, etc. Now the annual pass for Disney does the same thing, except you have to be going for like at least 2 weeks a year for it to make sense. There's only one tier of pass that you can have as an out-of-state pass holder, and it's the very top tier, which they're currently not selling, but that is it's $1,400, and then it goes up to $1,500 if you get PhotoPass, but obviously that grants you access to the park 365 days a year. And then also gives you hotel discounts and food discounts and merchandise discounts. Now, if you don't want an annual pass to either place, you are only going once, you don't think it's worth it, etc., totally fine. If you are of age, another way you can get discounted tickets is by going on a timeshare tour. So a lot of these will just throw in tickets as part of going on a timeshare tour, but we personally went on the Hilton one. And at the end of the timeshare tour, they offered us X dollars in Planet Hollywood gift cards to go out to dinner, or in theme park tickets. So we could have applied it to getting Disney tickets or Universal tickets or whatever. A lot of hotels, when you get there, the concierge will have some kind of discounted ticket, so you can always ask them if you still don't have any. But I would stay away from those $59 discount ticket stores. I just don't like them. The next thing that we are going to talk about is food. So this is something that I personally do before every trip, even now, just to keep myself in track, and just did planning our trip to Disneyland. I recommend that all of my friends do this. I force my family to do this when I go with them, and I'm now going to recommend that you do it as well. Look at the menus before you go. Decide what you want to eat and stick to that. Pick your favorite snacks. Make a listed rank of snacks from 1 to 15, and you want to eat your first 5 snacks. And if one of those isn't available or the line is 2 hours long, then you have backups. but this saves you from going through and wandering around aimlessly when you're hungry at the park and just buying everything. It can get really expensive to just pick up a snack wherever you're at if you're hungry. Instead, if you strategically plan what snacks you want to eat and plan them into your day, then ultimately you'll end up spending less money. And along with this, like, I know that the table service meals are expensive, but sometimes they end up being cheaper than the quick service meals. Because if you have to get everybody in your party a separate quick service meal, or you can grab family style for everybody at like Whispering Canyon, maybe it's cheaper to just get family style at Whispering Canyon. I don't know. You'll have to do the math for you and your family, but if you plan out what you're going to eat, this is a big help. I also know my family, when I was younger, was one of the families who brought peanut butter and jellies to the park and like ate or turkey sandwiches or whatever, and would go sit and eat them on Tom Sawyer Island with my family. And I get that sometimes, like, this is not the most fun thing to do. Like, you're at Disney, you want to eat the Disney food, but if you're really in a bind and trying to save money, all of the hotel gift shops have bread, they have peanut butter, they have jelly, they have Lunchables, etc. Take advantage of those things, bring them to the park with you. There's honestly nothing better than having a picnic on the hub grass and just looking out at the castle. So you don't need to buy anything fancy at Disney to do that. You can bring your own, and it's really not that big of a deal. The last thing we're going to talk about is merchandise. If you know me, if you've watched my videos before, you know that I tend to buy a lot of Disney merchandise. Some may even say overkill. I don't think overkill, but anyways, the merch is hard to just walk by and not buy, right? Like, it's really hard. And as much as I would say do the same thing as food, look at everything before you go, decide what you want, etc., not all the merch is online. And even some of the biggest bloggers who post almost everything miss some of the merch sometimes, because Disney just comes out with so much of it that you can't like physically do everything at once. So for merchandise, I would say obviously the best bet is having an annual pass and getting your 20% off, but that's not an option for everybody and not for most people who are going down for 1 week. So the next thing I would say is take advantage of the Disney outlets. So there's a Disney outlet, there are two, in the two different like big outlet malls in Orlando, and they always have the last set of merch and like popcorn buckets and ears and everything at like 75 to 90% off. You can go in and buy pairs of ears for $2, so they're called the Disney Character Warehouses if you are ever interested in going to look at them, but they are a great place to get discounted merchandise, especially if you're just bringing things home for your friends and family. They don't need to know that you got it at such a good discount. Now I am going to show you how to actually, like, realistically book this trip for under $1,000. Now I will say, you can, in theory, travel for cheaper than what I'm about to show you, but that doesn't mean I would recommend traveling for any cheaper than I'm about to show you. So, starting with theme park tickets. So in this, you can see our starting budget is $1,000. So we want to go into theme park tickets first because those are going to be non-negotiable for the most part. So right now I'm looking at 4 days at the park for $106 per day. And as you scroll down, we're going to start on the cheapest date, which is this June 1st date, but there are a lot of dates that have the $114 price point, so that doesn't really matter. If you're coming, look at this price calendar. Also, is another really good tip, because different days of the week are different amounts of money in different months, and whatever day you start your trip on is what you're paying per day for the trip. So if you start with one of these days in May, that's $125 a day, then you're going to be paying $125 times 4 instead of 114 times 4. So it's a little bit of a way to save money, and you know that your park ticket is going to be $454.60. So that gives you some room to see what's left. So you have $545.40 left, and the next thing we're going to do is go into Priceline and look. As you all know, I live in the greater New York City area, so looking from New York City to Orlando, and then these aren't the dates that I ended up doing, but close enough. So you start with dates, you see maybe they're a little expensive, and then play around with the dates from there. So eventually what I got to is this deal that I thought looked pretty good. $411 for hotel and flight, which is great. You're flying out of JFK, staying at a pretty nice and a good rated hotel. So these two together, because you paid for them that way, are $411, and then that gives you $134 for food, and the dates at this point would be May 31st to June 4th. That's 5 days, and then you take this and you divide it by 5. That gives you $27 a day to eat. Now, this, and no room for merchandise. But what I'm going to say here is another tip that I didn't talk about before. Where this comes in is you can go to a store like Costco, like BJ's, like I think Sam's Club does it. I get mine at Target always, but if you have one of the major credit cards or one of the store cards for one of those stores that gives you discounts on gift cards, use it to buy Disney gift cards, because you're automatically going to get extra money. So this $134, if you had two $100 Disney gift cards to put towards food, you'd only be paying $190 for them. So in theory, that's helping you save money, and it gives you a little extra to spend in the park that you didn't actually have to spend. So we always go down with a plethora of gift cards. We use them for everything. You can use them on the app, you can use them in the stores, at the restaurants, whatever, and they're always good. Now, I know eating for $26 a day, especially when one meal at Disney costs $14 to $15, sounds ridiculous, but this is when you have to take into account the going to buy peanut butter and jelly and going to the park. If you're on this much of a budget and you're going for a 5-night vacation, like, yes, you're gonna have to make some sacrifices, but also just look around, because at Magic Kingdom you could go get a full meal built out of sides from Pecos Bills or Columbia Harbor House for under $10. You do one for lunch, one for dinner, and then you still have $6 to go get yourself like a muffin and a black coffee from Starbucks when you first get there. So it's all about knowing what you want, what you're interested in, what you want to spend your money on, and maybe making some sacrifices around it. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was helpful to you. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below. I would be happy to answer anything, and I'll see you in the next one.